Every murder town is unique, every story terrifying. Tonight we visit a town where the homeless came under attack.
No one in the street had suspected what was going on, what was really going on.
We tell the story of two crimes that left everyone shocked.
I think it's been one of the biggest horrific murders that's ever happened in Grimsby.
Will we see another murder like that again? I hope not. That's all I can say. I hope not.
And reveal the heartache for those left behind.
This was the most brutal and barbaric case I've ever covered in my career.
Grimsby is tonight's murder town. Some killers attack complete strangers. Some target the vulnerable, the young, or the elderly. And some prey on people that they know. There are killers who are inspired by money or by revenge, by sexual deviancy, by hatred. There are opportunists and there are meticulous planners. But what unites these men and women is one simple trait, and it's the most terrifying thing of all. They live amongst us. In our towns, on our streets, in our houses. They're just like the rest of us, but capable of evil. And they could be anywhere. Welcome to Murdertown.
Do you feel it in the air? Oh, something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes.
Tonight, we're in Grimsby. It's a coastal town in the east of England, in the county of Humberside. Once a thriving fishing port, it's since fallen on harder times. But while our episode examines Grimsby's dark past, our story begins a few miles away in rural Lincolnshire and its network of remote waterways.
Tetney Lock is about 6 miles along the coast from Grimsby, and it's a relatively sleepy village, popular with dog walkers and bird watchers, fishermen and canoeists.
On a bright day, the lock could be considered a hidden gem. But in the spring of 2011, it revealed something more sinister.
Out of the blue, 2 dog walkers spotted something floating in the water. It was a bag, but they could see in the bag was a limb. The discovery of a limb in a canal in a sleepy Lincolnshire village shocked everyone. The police threw everything at this case to try and identify who it was. Lincolnshire police dispatched a large number of officers to comb the area, and also an underwater search team were dispatched to carry out searches of the canal itself.
Indeed, word soon spread from the small village of Tetney Lock to the surrounding towns. Everyone was on the lookout.
We're conducting searches at numerous locations around this area, and a major incident room has been set up.
The search went on for days and days. They carried out a thorough search of the canal, underwater and the banks and speaking to people in the area. They were confident that other body parts would emerge.
The initial body part was found by a dog walker, and it's those sorts of people who may find additional body parts, not just in the Tetney Lock area, but the wider area.
People were scared that maybe out on a walk or putting something in their wheelie bin, they might just suddenly discover something gruesome, either a torso or a head or a limb.
But who did the limb belong to? To find out, police asked scientists to test the limb to extract DNA. Then they could compare it to a database of missing persons and hope for a match.
This started off as an investigation by Lincolnshire police. The forensic examination was carried out on the remains. The limb and DNA was taken. And once they checked their missing persons list, there was no connection with anybody that they knew, so they contacted the neighbouring force of Humberside Police, which looks after towns of Grimsby and Cleethorpes. And so it was important to see if they had any missing person cases. And within 24 hours, they were able to prove a match with a missing person case with Humberside Police.
The test suggested that the limb belonged to a 33-year-old man called Adam Vincent.
The last thing before I go to sleep, I think of him. And the first thing when I wake up. I mean, the only time I'm going to stop thinking about Adam is when I die.
Mr. Vincent, who is 33, was formerly of Alexandra Road in Grimsby. He is known, and he will be known, to people in Grimsby Centre, and he will be known to other people who are drug users.
This was a shocking case. The question was, where had he been dismembered and why? And precisely who was responsible?
He lived in Grimsby. There's the potential for additional deposition sites, not just in the Tetney Lock area, but even perhaps between Grimsby and Scunthorpe. I have very, very limited information on this case.
The search was on to find a killer and stop them before they could kill again. In every part of the UK, there are small towns which offer a unique slice of British life. On England's east coast, the flat landscape of Lincolnshire and Humberside is dotted with small villages and the occasional larger seaside town, and one of those is Grimsby.
Grimsby was the world's biggest fishing port for many years, and there were vast numbers of people employed and several generations of a family. You'd have grandfathers, fathers and sons all working in the same industry. When the food processing companies started up, and Grimsby later became known as Europe's food town. It's quite a heavy drinking sort of town traditionally. You know, the ex-fishermen used to come off the boats and spend 3 days. They were called the 3-day millionaires, with all their money and going around the pubs, and quite often that would lead to arguments and that would flare up into violence.
In recent years, like much of the country, Grimsby has seen its traditional industries die off, and with jobs harder to come by, it's seen a surge in antisocial behaviour.
It led to a high degree of unemployment and large numbers of people on benefits. So, you know, they revert to drink and some people, sadly, deteriorate into drugs. The murder rate in the Grimsby area isn't large compared to some of the big cities, but we have had 1 or 2 high-profile cases over the years.
One of Grimsby's darkest chapters began with the discovery of a human limb in the waterways a few miles from the town. That limb belonged to a local man called Adam Vincent.
Adam Vincent you describe as a colourful character. and many described him as quite a lovable rogue.
When he was a kid, he was like me shadow. Couldn't go anywhere without him being there. He was just a proper lad. He was a good lad. He wasn't cheeky. He just had this big grin on his face, like, you know, and if he'd done something wrong, I couldn't get mad with him. He just used to give me that grin, like, you know, go on, off you go, like, don't do it again. He'd make you laugh if you was feeling really down in the dumps. You just had to look at him and you'd smile, because he had this addictive smile, like you just couldn't help but smile along with him. But he just wanted to be everywhere, looking at something, doing something. He was just curious. I think they all tried smoking and whatever. Anyway, his mother, I found something in Adam's bedroom I want you to have a look at. So I said, yeah, no problem. And I went upstairs and we found this bag of wacky backy. So anyway, when he came home, I said, hey Adam, I want you. He said, what? I said, what's that stuff in your bedroom in that bag? He went, what bag? And I pulled it up and I said, this. Yeah. And he went white as a sheet. Oh, it's an able. You smoke it, it's able. I said, yeah, I know that. I said, what are you doing with it? Oh, I'm holding it for a friend, like, you know. And that was, I know then that was the beginning. And then he hit the hard stuff. And then he fell into a circle where he couldn't get out.
Adam had tragically fallen into a spiral of decline, fueled by drugs, and Class A drugs in particular. He'd fallen in with a bad crowd, and it caused all sorts of problems for his family.
Obviously, I had a few talks with him now and then about it, and I thought he was sinking in. It wasn't. And he promised me he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't do that. Well, he did. The times I used to say, come home, we'll get you sorted out, come home. No, I'm all right, Dad, I'll manage, you know, I'm not going to get that bad with it. He stole off me, he burgled the house, he burgled us. I knew it was him, because he couldn't look at me and lie to me. That's one thing Adam couldn't do. He couldn't lie and look at you straight in the face.
By his early 20s, he was living on Grimsby streets, away from the family home and battling with addiction.
He needed money to fuel his drug addiction, and so he reverted to stealing, and he was convicted of taking lead off the roof of a church not too far away. He was known to the police authorities and to the courts. I would say Adam was one of a relatively large number of people who found themselves, you know, on a slippery slope and regularly seen in the town centre.
Adam regularly sat outside one of the local shopping centres, hoping for a bit of loose change or some food. And being there meant that he was a familiar face in the town.
He didn't have a bad bone in his body. You know?
Anybody, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He would do anything for anybody, but when it come to himself, I think he didn't really help himself.
I think he left himself to last to help other people. I mean, I used to often walk through here. I mean, I'm 38 now, but, you know. And I used to see Adam with his McDonald's cup, just sat there.
Yeah.
You know, he'd either be drawing or asking for spare change, and even if they said no or was it aggressive to him, he'd be like, OK, no problem, have a nice day. He was a very well-known bloke in this town. He was a part of the furniture down here, you know what I mean?
It sent shivers up me when I heard.
The lifestyle, living on the streets, resulting in drug use, unfortunately, is a common factor. It's just the nature of the type of existence that people are living.
David Carlisle runs a charity in Grimsby to offer support to people like Adam who live on the streets.
Harbour Place works with mainly homeless people. It's our remit to try and get them into emergency accommodation, which we can provide, and hopefully get them prepared for life, either living on their own or into sheltered accommodation. Adam, along with his friends, would come in, have a drink, have a chat, just coming in just to associate with people and socialise, really.
The reason that Harbour Place was so important for the homeless community was because of the dangers of living on the streets. Nationally, the number of homeless people dying on the streets has doubled in 5 years. And in Grimsby, like much of the country, the threats are everywhere. In 2018, another member of the street community was killed. Tony Richardson often used to spend time outside the Fresney shopping centre in the town, the same one that Adam used to sit outside of. But on January the 15th, CCTV cameras captured the moment he was killed. As the attacker ran off, Richardson got first aid, but despite the efforts of paramedics, they couldn't save him, and he was just 45 years old. But what looked like a random assault turned out to be much more. Security guard Sarah Finney can be seen here with a colleague, frog-marching Richardson to the exit and watching on as he walks away. During those moments, words were exchanged, and Sarah Finney then made a phone call to her husband, Mark. What happened next shocked the officers who were investigating. Sarah Finney reported a false suspicious incident elsewhere in the shopping centre. And as her colleague turned the CCTV cameras to investigate, husband Mark ran in to attack Richardson, believing he was off camera and wouldn't be caught. Only some excellent detective work and the help of a nearby witness ensured that the Finneys were caught and jailed for Tony Richardson's death. But back in 2011, mystery was surrounding the fate of another homeless man. Adam Vincent, who was a familiar face around the town shopping centre, had gone missing from the town, though initially there wasn't much concern for his welfare.
When you work in the field of homelessness, we're well aware that there is always conflict and emotions running high in this area of work, and there are often people who are falling out with people or owing people money. It's just the nature of the type of existence that people are living. It's not a shock to not see somebody for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, because it's something that, you know, does happen with a client group we have, you know. Homeless people do move around. Homeless people do go missing.
By the start of 2011, Adam had got a small flat. He was in and out of hospital being treated for pneumonia, but then on February the 27th he vanished and wasn't seen at the shopping centre or at his usual place outside the shopping centre.
We hadn't heard from him for ages and ages. So one night I said to my son-in-law, hey, come with me to his flat and see what's going on. So he said, okay then. We went to this flat. And there wasn't a light anywhere, there was hardly any furniture, there was a pile of bills on the table. And it was just, well, nobody lives here, surely to God. He just seemed to have disappeared off the planet. Everywhere I went and asked people, hadn't seen him. Nothing. It don't matter where I went or who I spoke to, nothing. oh. And then I knew there was something wrong then.
Eventually, with no trace of Adam, Keith reported him missing to the police. They used the local media to help spread the word.
The Grimsby Telegraph ran the appeal more than once in the hope that somebody would contact Humberside Police to let them know where Adam was and that he was safe and that he was well. But over a week went by and there was no news.
Sunday afternoon it was. We just finished our dinner and sat watching the telly. And over that there was a knock on the door, and so I said, "You go to the door." So she went, and I had to say, "Yeah, that's right. Oh, I think you better come in." And I heard him say police. And I thought, "Oh no." I said, "What's he done now?" He said, "It's very serious, Keith." I said, "What's he done?" I said, "Hey, where is he? You got him locked up, or is he in prison, or whatever?" He said, "No, it's serious." So I said, "How serious?" He said, "We found this leg." He said, "We've DNA'd it, and we've got a match." He said, "It's Adam's, we believe he's dead." I was just numb. I could hear people talking, and there was nothing registering, you know, he's dead. And then when the penny did drop, it did drop. And it just was unbelievable.
But what had happened to Adam? Knowing he was dead was just the beginning of the investigation, and now it was the police in Grimsby who were leading the inquiry.
With Humberside Police taking primacy of the case now, they sent a lot of officers to Tetney Lock and joined in the search. They also carried out house-to-house inquiries, and fortunately, one of the houses in the Tetney Lock area had CCTV. There was a white van had passed by their house on a date close to when the limb was found, and that gave the police something to focus on, and they needed to trace that van quickly. The picture of the van triggered a lot of memories for people in the community, and there had been a number of reported sightings of the van in the Grimsby area leading up to the discovery of the limb and afterwards.
So now the hunt was on to find the van and trace the people inside it. Had they witnessed something, or could they be involved? The net was closing. In 2011, police in Humberside were investigating the grim discovery of a human limb.
The initial body part was found by a dog walker, and it's those sort of people who may find additional body parts, not just in the Tetney Lock area, but the wider area.
It had been identified as belonging to a young man called Adam Vincent.
Mr. Vincent, who is 33, was formerly of Alexandra Road in Grimsby. He is known, and he will be known, to people in Grimsby Centre, and he will be known to other people who are drug users.
They were now hunting for a mysterious white van seen close to where the limb was found. And after appeals in the local paper, there was a breakthrough.
It was quickly traced, and it was soon followed by a number of arrests in Grimsby.
We're in the very early stages of this murder inquiry, and I do not want anyone to think that the matter is wrapped up. And although we have 5 arrests, it's far from that.
They very soon raided a bungalow, the property at Southfield Road in Scarthill.
In fact, the street in Scartho was in one of Grimsby's more affluent areas.
Sleepy little road in a quiet neighbourhood of Grimsby. No one in the street had suspected what was going on, what was really going on behind the doors, behind the curtains at Southfield Road. There was Lee Griffiths and his two sons, Thomas and Luke.
Other men were connected to that gang too, including Mark Jackson and Matthew Frau.
The Griffiths family were notorious in Grimsby as being one of the biggest suppliers of drugs. Had quite a serious reputation for being very brutal. And they'd been operating for some considerable time, building up their network of drug-dependent customers. They relied on runners to do some of the deliveries for them. So they would put people like Adam out onto the streets to sell drugs.
I think he got influenced by, you know, what lifestyle there was leading and whatever. Oh yeah, you know, you join us, you'll always have money and selling drug to us and that. And he got sucked in that way.
Now police knew the Griffiths gang were connected to the bungalow, and collectively they were connected to the hired white van. But what connected the van and the bungalow to the apparent death of Adam Vincent? To answer that, police began a thorough search.
There was a very thorough forensic examination of the property and also in the garden where they found a bonfire. The police were horrified to discover that had been the scene where they dismembered Adam's body.
Forensic evidence revealed that Adam Vincent had come to harm in the property, and that news shocked everyone.
It devastated quite a number of people, but also it's the way it happened and where it happened. It wasn't in an area that we would associate that sort of thing happening in Grimsby. It was in a much more affluent area. It's an area that you don't envisage that sort of horrendous act happening.
But police also needed a motive. Why had Adam been attacked? And how did he know the gang? Detectives quickly formed a theory that Adam had crossed the gang and that his death had been an act of revenge.
The Griffiths family had thought that Adam had taken drugs and stolen them from them, so they were out for revenge.
To be honest with you, I thought Adam had ripped him off and done a runner, and that was why he'd gone missing. He'd gone to another town, and we won't see him in this town again. No way would he come back to this town again after doing that. But he would establish himself somewhere else, and he would still be alive.
What had happened to Adam was that following the discovery that he'd allegedly taken the drugs from the Griffiths gang, was they confronted him and then hacked him to death.
How can you do that to another human being? Literally cut him up by hand. You see something like this on an horror film, it's not real.
People in Grimsby couldn't believe the barbarity that they'd carried out in a quiet bungalow in a sleepy suburb of Grimsby. The body parts were concealed in bin liners. They were then put into a van and transported to be scattered about the place.
I felt sorry for the police. I really did. Groping around the bottom of Tetney Lock there, you know, and then finding a body part, a human body part. You'd have nightmares, wouldn't you? But these blokes, they did it. I think their reckoning was that if they was in that position, they'd want their loved ones' remains all back. And I think it became a bit of a personal thing for them.
It took several weeks of searching, but over time, other parts started to emerge. His arm and also his torso were found at Tetney Lock in the weeks after.
Despite weeks of searching, Adam's complete remains couldn't be found.
I started to get a bit of pressure off the family. Oh, look, we've got this, let's go with this for a funeral. And I went, no, not until we've got him all. It's either that or nothing. I didn't bring him in this world to be cut up like a Sunday joint. I mean, I'm not saying I would have been happy about it, but if they'd have killed him and left him where he was found, at least I could have been able to see him and say me goodbyes. But they robbed me of that.
A brutal drugs gang were now under arrest and suspected of killing Adam Vincent. But there were more blows to come for his devastated family. The seaside town of Grimsby hasn't witnessed many murders, but in 2011, police were investigating one of the worst it would ever see. Adam Vincent had been tortured and killed at a house in the town, and his body parts driven around in a white transit van and dumped in nearby waterways.
I just kept in the house then after that. I couldn't face people. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be next to the phone.
The senior officers had promised his family that all of Adam would be found so they could have a burial. And the police let us know how that investigation was going on.
Forensic analysis of digital technology like mobile phones can reveal a wealth of information. From GPRS giving away our location to details of our internet search history and call logs.
The mobile phones were absolutely crucial. You know, through their mobile phone examination, they were able to track where the rental van had been. You know, they're sending messages so they can prove that that phone and that person were at the River Ancombe. And they think, right, well, that's where we need to start searching next. Some guy was starting up his boat and it churned up, you know, the side of the bank. So this bag suddenly started coming out and floated up. And there was the head in the bag.
And I heard the phone ring. And I heard her go, yes. And it went quiet like, you know, obviously she was upset. And I sat there thinking, what's going on now? And then she come in, she said, they found him. It was good news, but it was awful news.
Everybody recognised that, you know, the family were grieving, and so they were paying tributes to Adam, and the Grimsby Telegraph website had a lot of people saying, R.I.P. Adam.
I mean, if you'd have seen the tributes left to him in town, wherever he used to say it, people liked him because he was genuine. You'd have to have seen the flowers to appreciate the people of Grimsby, how they all come together. It's like one of their own. And the way he was killed, the horrific way he was killed, and what they did to him afterwards, I left him with no dignity of what they did. I mean, I mean, all I had to say goodbye to was a coffin. They robbed me of saying my last farewells.
They seemed quite dismissive at what they'd done, and they even had jokes amongst them in the docks.
The distance I was sat from them was about three yards from where they were sat. They showed to me, they showed no feeling of remorse of what they'd done. They brought Frau in, and he got his sentence. And as I was taking him out, he looked at me and he says, "I'm sorry." I just went, "No." Because he was his best friend. He was the one. There's a couple of people who could have saved him just by picking up the phone anonymously and said, "Well, I think you better get to that bungalow. They're going to kill this lad if you don't step in." But he didn't.
The defendants all denied what they'd done, but it became quite clear from the start that the prosecution case against them was so strong.
The judge sentenced the father. He stood up and he said, "It was them, not me. It was my boys, not me." And I thought, you don't want to do that to your kids.
This was a huge investigation for Humberside Police, and they got justice for Adam's family. That was what they'd promised, and they got the result.
Yeah, it was a relief. Obviously, they're cold, calculated killers. They think, "Oh, well, we've done it, it's done, we've got our sentence." That's the end of it. It doesn't stop there. It goes on, like throwing a pebble in a pond. The cycles go on and on and on. And forever. You know, it's always there. I mean, the only time I'm going to stop thinking about Adam is when I die. When I take my last breath.
The brutal murder of Adam Vincent is something that belongs more in the medieval times than 21st century Britain. And to have it happening in the heart of Grimsby was utterly shocking. We hope we never see anything like this again.
I think what happened to Adam, to a lesser extent, I suppose, is still going on. People are still going missing. People are still susceptible to being attacked. The lifestyle out there hasn't got easier, it's got more violent. It's a more dangerous place to be. There are more risks. It's not got any better. It could get worse. You know, will we see another murder like that again? I hope not. That's all I can say. I hope not.
When I said life, I mean, it's not life, is it? Life is life. They're there until they rot, but they're not. I do believe if they're ever unleashed, I mean, I don't think I'll be around when they come out, that they won't change. A leopard never changes its spots.
Adam Vincent was a young man who fell off the rails. For much of society, he was looked down upon, often ignored, and rarely considered. But to Adam's friends and family, he was everything, and nobody deserves the fate that came his way. It's testament to the local media who kept Adam's story alive and the thorough work by local police that an evil gang were finally caught and jailed.